Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My voice just cracked. Last week I was actually coming down with a raging fever on Monday, and I'd literally been bedridden for the entire past week. I was so tired, the fever was so high that I couldn't really get myself out of the bed to film or to do anything at all. So there was a little gap there from my regular posting schedule. Please don't mind that. Earlier this week I got a lot better, and I was hit by the fact that, well, my tenancy agreement had come to an end, meaning that I had to move out of the place that I'm currently living right now. So the past few days have been pretty hectic and chaotic and kind of messy because I've been very busy with packing my stuff and shipping it to my new location. There's still a little red luggage right there in the corner. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm waiting for another day until tomorrow for kind of the completion of the checkout procedure, to return the key and wait for the landlord to come and check out on the wear and tear in the room. So today I want to talk about language learning, a very big problem that I assume that any language learners out there would eventually have to face as they make progress along the journey. As you guys can probably tell from the way that I speak English, I'm not a native English speaker myself, judging from the number of grammatical mistakes that I make and my accent. But I guess I do know a thing or two about the English that I'm using, or do I? Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that just like any other people out there, I learn my English through any means that I encounter, be it movies, music, podcasts, books, textbooks, and most dominantly YouTube videos, for me personally. And as I reach to a higher level of English proficiency, I noticed this pattern where there was a phase where I feel like I can literally understand everything that comes out from either the listening or the reading sources, but it pained me that I wasn't able to just express myself fluently, or at least to the same level of language in the listening or the reading sources. Stuttering, repetition, self-correction are some of the common symptoms at this stage. Acknowledging this, I've been digging up some past and contemporary papers, trying to shed light on why that was the case for me back then and even now. So all that to say, today, let's figure out why sometimes it's pretty much impossible for us to express ourselves fluently, or at least to the level that we wanted to replicate from the reading or the listening resources, even though we can understand completely whatever it is that we are consuming. Oh, and of course, I'll also be talking about how to tackle this dire predicament like a lot of IELTS test takers would normally say. Okay, before we get started, just a word of caution for all of the critical thinkers or all of the nerds out there. So if you're in here expecting me to just churn out a bunch of terminologies and jargons and coding a flood of research papers to back up my statement, then I'm sorry. Well, I guess you might be left hanging because this video is intended to be made accessible and approachable to all of the general English learners out there. I'm trying my best to just make it simple and straightforward as much as possible. And besides, this is just purely an interpretation of my understanding of a research concept landed with my personal language learning experience, so take it with a grain of salt. If you are a language learner, you probably heard about 4 pivotal skills that enable you to just convey any message in any form possible, and they are reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So if we can just zoom out and put a tag on them, then obviously reading and listening, they can be classified as receptive skills. Whereas for speaking and writing, well, they sit squarely into the productive kind of group. All right, from there, let's take it up a notch. So when you read and listen to something, you receive information, right? You are inputting information to your brain. On the other hand, when you speak or you write, you are producing information. You are outputting information. Okay, why is this even necessary? What a bunch of hooey are you trying to say here? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, just bear with me here because in hindsight, I feel like most of my language schooling system mainly center around input-based instruction as a metric for fluency. In this sort of guidance,
students are pushed to process input by being requested to demonstrate that they have comprehended the significance of a target element in input by giving either a non-verbal or insignificantly verbal reaction.
Research papers to back up my statement, then I'm sorry. Well, I guess you might be left hanging because... Simply put, think of when your teacher asks you to listen to a conversation or to read the passage and then pick a photo between two that best describe the content that you are inputting. So that's right there, input-based instruction. On the other hand, we obviously have the output-based instruction. It's literally what you are thinking right now. So this is essentially when the focus is shifted from input-oriented ways to outputting for the optimal target language acquisition. In other words, you are learning through speaking or writing. Now, I won't be making the same mistake by drawing upon like a bunch of papers like earlier, but instead I'll just put like a link down below in the description for those of you who want to geek out on this topic. Be my guest. In my humble opinions, most of us spend a lot of time reading and listening to materials or being taught to read and listen to materials. And we don't actually spend enough time for writing and speaking. So why is that? Well, my take is that reading and listening compared to the other two skills can be a lot more comfortable. Now, don't get me wrong, reading a book or listening to a TED Talk, especially if you're a beginner, is no joke. It's like words are going in one ear and out the other, you know what I'm saying? Nothing is retained. But comparing to producing the same level of language through speaking and writing, especially in your own words, reading and listening suddenly become this kind of like cutie patooey kitty that is harmless and friendly. By now, you might be tempted to say that, okay, you know what, screw listening and reading skills.
From now on, I'll just be focusing on practice speaking and writing. I will write and speak the shit out of everything that I encounter.
Now, I agree, and you should do that, but that doesn't mean that we should completely write up the foundational role of input. Notice how I use the word foundational. Theorists have suggested that rather than see these as two disconnected and even competing ideas, it's more accurate to think of input as a first step along the path to output. So if you really think about it, you really need a good solid base to start, and that's where listening and reading to a variety of resources come into play, because they build a pretty good repertoire so that your speaking and your writing have supplies, abundant supplies to draw from. So rather than prioritizing one and discarding the other, I guess what we should be asking is, what is the golden ratio for input and output? The best way to craft a balance between output and input diet really depends on where you are in the language learning journey. And honestly, there's just no one-size-fits-all kind of approach here. But there's always a but, huh? So if you're a beginner, adore your input. The golden ratio between input and output should be 7:3. Listen to podcasts, listen to music, watch movies, watch YouTube, read books, read novels and whatnot. So pretty much just bathe and immerse yourself in the target language. If you feel like you're no longer a noob, then obviously it's time for you to mix it up. For each activity that you do, try to find a way to combine both input and output in it. For instance, you can watch a video and transcribe it, or you can just read a section in a book and then go on to record yourself talking about your reaction about that specific section there of the book. Be creative. Now, last but not least, and when you are a pro, you know the drill. This is where the golden ratio just kind of reverse. 7 output versus 3 input at this stage of your language learning journey. So just embrace your output, right? Shadowing, storytelling, active recalling. Comment down below if you want me to make a video talking deeper about these type of learning strategies. One really practical way that you can literally start right away after watching this video is to create a social media account of your choice and start expressing your thoughts as well as your opinions in the target language that you are learning. If you are shy and in private, then just use the private mode available on those apps. Simply just record yourself describing your day, your favorite movies, someone that you just met, or just jot down your thoughts with whatever that crosses your mind. Honestly, the sky's the limit. The point is, don't be afraid to make mistakes when you are outputting, and be open to constructive feedback, but have no tolerance for those who gaslight and drag you down. So using your discretion wisely is what I'm trying to say, and I'm probably gonna make a video about this, about the mindset that a language learner should have, because I've been a victim for this kind of fixed and limited mindset for so long. When looking back right now, I'm feeling kind of like agitated. Sorry, that was so random. So that's pretty much everything from me. Leave a comment down below of what you think of this video, or pretty much anything that you want me to discuss in the future. Outputting the writing skill, Tag me in your post if you do create a channel and make a video using your target language, right? I'd love to see them all. So until next time, subscribe, like, share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.